Is anyone else really not feeling this UK weather at the moment? For those of you who are listening internationally, I'm incredibly jealous. I have spent today doing some awesome coaching with some of my awesome US clients, and they've got their doors open, they're enjoying sunshine. I'm like, I would like some of that. Please send it our way. We currently have storms. In fact, we had one named a couple of weeks ago, Storm Gareth, right? What an inspirational name. I'm sorry if anyone is called Gareth, but really I was expecting like Storm, I don't know, something really cool. Storm J or something funky. Storm Rodriguez, but no, we got Storm Gareth. And Storm Gareth was an absolute nightmare, and it did knock out our Wi-Fi, and it knocked out the power and pretty much everything else here because the UK does not cope well during storm season. So we have worked out. So today I'm huddled up with my hot water and lemon, and I am interviewing one of the most amazing couples on the internet. Now, I'm really excited about this because I'd wanted to have a conversation with these two for probably about a year. They have created this incredible business. They started off as teachers. They built an education business each. So they both built an education business each online. And they've gone on to create this like phenomenal membership community. They hold these amazing live events once a year. And they've got this phenomenal podcast, and they just make everything super simple. You know, they're really about making online business really easy for people. And I'd wanted to talk to them for ages, and I was like, oh my goodness, they seem super cool, but you know, it's difficult to organize diaries with super cool people. But luckily I had a secret weapon. I didn't have a secret weapon. I lied. But I mentioned to a good friend of mine, Heather Gray, who has been on the podcast and who I imagine we will bring back at some point. I was like, hey, these guys seem really cool. And we were having a conversation about websites and all that kind of stuff. And she was like, oh, I know them. And so the next thing I know, a couple of weeks later, this email comes into my inbox that says, Jess, you should get to know these guys. And then guys get to know Jess. And so that is how this episode came about today. So I'm very grateful to Heather. And I'm also incredibly grateful to the amazing Shane and Jocelyn Sams from Flip Lifestyle, who've given up some time today to have a chat about what it really means to build an online business, how to diversify your portfolio of offerings, which is something I'm always excited to talk about. And they have this amazing Southern accent that literally made my day, okay? Made my day. So enjoy this episode with Shane, with Jocelyn, and let us know what the key takeaways you get from the episode are over on social media, over on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, whatever you use. Enjoy the episode. It's a really, really good one. Okay, Poddies, I am so excited to introduce you to two amazing people on the podcast today. Now, in the intro, I gave you some helpful hints about the exact achievements that this powerhouse couple have managed to hit over the last few years in their business. Without any further ado, please join me in welcoming the amazing Shane and Jocelyn Sams from Flip Lifestyle to the podcast. Welcome, guys.
Well, how y'all doing? It is great to be here. We are super excited to talk to you today.
I am so excited. And also, I have to say, love the accents. As a Brit, it's always me who everyone's like, oh, really like your accent. And for me, all I ever hear is like standard American, but you guys have this amazing accent. And I'm like, I'm in love.
We have a bit of a Southern drawl. We are from Southeast Kentucky. I am from deep in the mountains of Appalachia.
Yeah, and I have to say, Jessica, I love your accent because I'm obsessed with like all things British. I drink English breakfast tea like every single day.
She likes to get up and pretend that she's in like, you know, across the pond or what have you. And
you can stay here whenever you like. I will send you tea.
I actually read once that where the people that settled where I'm from, like actually like got down in these like, you know, hollers and these deep valleys in Appalachia. And like, in theory, linguists think that the way we speak is the closest to Elizabethan English that still exists. Yes, because like all the people in the 1600s and 1700s came, from England. And then they went into the mountains of Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, and they kind of settled in there, and their accents stayed the same. So we still have like colloquialisms and slang like from that time and the way we do things. So we may be I may be the most British guest you've ever had. You don't know. We don't know that.
Like, oh my God, you're more British than I am. This is amazing.
Exactly.
How exciting. So tell us a little bit about what it's like really working as a couple, because I have this thing in my head and I romanticize it a lot. I sit and I think about my partner and like, oh, how great would it be to have him home all day in my office and us have this really interesting business conversations like all day long. And then I also think sometimes though, I want to suffocate him with a pillow. So how do you guys make it work in such an amazing way?
Well, I have no idea what that would be like. No, I'm just kidding. Because I feel the same way all the time. So, we have really amazing days and we have some bad days here and there. I always say that usually we bring out the best in each other and occasionally the worst. And lately, I think that occasionally the worst has been a little bit more often.
But it's a really weird dynamic because you always hear the cliches like, oh, I could never work with my spouse. Oh, I'd love to work with, and then there are people that romanticize it as well. And, we've really structured our life ever since we went full-time, online business owners and self-employed. We share 50-50 in the business. We share 50-50 in the home stuff. We are now actually homeschooling our kids.
Wow.
And so we're sharing in that responsibility as well. And it can be a very difficult dynamic, because a lot of times with couples, you get away from each other sometimes when you go to work, when you go to your job, when you do whatever. And that can be a good thing, right? And we have to be really vigilant with planning calendars. We look at our calendar and we say like, hey, like Jocelyn just went on a mastermind trip with some ladies down to Mexico for 5 days just to go and, decompress, get away from the kids, get away from me.
I was going to throw that in.
Right, exactly.
I'm glad you did.
But like you have to do that because the truth is you can't be around anybody 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or you're going to go crazy. So, we just have to really work hard at it. It's fun though. It's really awesome because we have so much freedom because of that dynamic. Like we can just pick up and go anywhere we want. We can do anything we want on a daily basis. And that was really our goal when we, went from our old jobs as school teachers to becoming, self-employed, work at home entrepreneurs. Was we wanted to be together. Like that was our main mission. It wasn't about the money, wasn't about the whatever. So we've kind of pulled that off, but ain't nothing perfect, nothing at all. So
I really love the honesty there around, Jocelyn, you going away to a mastermind and everyone being okay to say, yeah, I just needed to get away from things for a while. Because I think sometimes in the online space, we get caught up in feeling like we have to show everybody that everything is fine all of the time. And it's like, no, of course I don't want to get away from this amazing life that I've created, which you guys have. Like you've been on this huge journey and it's been incredible. But I think being honest and being able to be honest about the fact that, everybody still needs some time. Even if you create the most amazing life, sometimes you just need your own space to drink tequila and do whatever you need to do, right?
Well, the problem is, and this is kind of what causes a lot of problems with entrepreneurs in general. We are kind of isolated. We are kind of alone. And like we compare our worst moments to everybody else's highlight reels. So like we get this anxiety, we get this freaked outness. And like, we've always tried to be open and upfront that like, it ain't got to be perfect. It doesn't have to work out everything exactly like it says all the time. You don't have to follow the guru's plans. And, those guys that are running around in their Lamborghinis and they're taking pictures in front of private jets aren't really doing that anyway. So it's like their kids aren't as happy and smiling all the time on the swing set as they make it out to be. So, we do need to talk about that more. And that's something that, Joss and we always ask ourselves, like, how could we ever be stressed? How could we ever have anxiety? Because the life that we live like now compared to what we lived before is so different, right? But it's like, but you do have stress, you do have anxiety, and there's all kinds of pressures to kind of keep the ball rolling.
Yeah. And I always say like first world problems, they're still problems. Like they still cause stress. They still cause day-to-day anxiety. And just because you're not like worried about what you're going to eat tomorrow, or if you're going to be able to pay the light bill, like you still have stresses that weigh on your mind. And, for me, I'm an introvert. I process a lot of things internally. And there are some days where it's really hard because I'm just always worried about this or that. And, that can be hard sometimes.
And as you expand your wealth, as you expand your success, like we went from, Jocelyn and I were school teachers. Jocelyn was a librarian. I was a social studies teacher, taught history, coached football. So we had this really like lower middle class, normal, good enough life, right? Mm-hmm. And we had this little, we had our half-acre postage stamp yard in our cookie cutter neighborhood, the American dream, right? We had the 2.2 cars, 2.2 kids, 2.2 dogs, whatever. And then like now, as you expand in your success, like we have like a 40-acre estate now. We have like a huge property, lots to take care of. And, you're adding more stresses as you go, even though it's amazing, right? Mm-hmm. And, it's hard to reconcile. I was actually just telling one of my mastermind buddies this morning that like when you go from normal to successful, as the world judges us, whatever, like if you come from a normal middle class, regular background, we weren't trained to do this. We weren't trained to deal with these pressures, deal with these expectations. Jocelyn and I have, hundreds and hundreds of people in our community, thousands of people that listen to our podcast. Like that's a lot of expectation every day to get up and be who we are, right? Mm-hmm. And you're not trained to do that. You're just not trained to deal with success. And it's a new kind of pressure that you got to navigate.
I think that's really interesting. I think it's funny for me because one of the biggest reasons that people give for not selling as often as they probably could is that they fear the success that is going to come with it. Right. And like you guys have mentioned, you came from lower middle class. I was exactly the same. I came from a corporate job and nobody had ever really made it possible for us to dream big. You went to work every day, you worked for 12 hours, you came home, you went to sleep, you got up the next day, you did the whole thing again. And nobody ever said, oh, but, wouldn't it be great if you could work at the beach? You kind of laughed at them. They were the people that were getting put in straitjackets because you're like, this isn't possible. Yeah. Work and then you die was the mentality. And I think that mindset shift in particular can be really challenging. And I think people have a lot of fear around that. Did you guys, you mentioned that this wasn't something that you planned. Did you guys find that a struggle to actually dream big and think about what you really wanted to create?
I think at first we didn't really struggle with it because our goal was really clear at the beginning. When we were still full-time school teachers, our goal was to make enough money to quit our jobs. And, as school teachers, as public school teachers, we didn't make a whole lot of money. Right. I mean, we made a decent amount of money from where we live. We live in Kentucky, which has a relatively low cost of living. But I think that we could wrap our head around what that looked like. I think the problem for us now is, okay, where do we go to now?
That's right.
Like our life is really cool. We have all the material possessions we could really ever want now.
We travel every other month. I mean,
so now we're kind of like, okay, well, what's next? And that for me, that's what I have trouble wrapping my head around is, okay, well, where do we go from here? I don't really know.
I'm not, we talk to a lot of people in our community, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't really see the fear of success as coming from like goals. Because like, it was easy to set goals, like replace our income, quit our job, pay off our house, travel, go to other countries. Those dreams are kind of easy to like grab onto. I think the fear of success comes from the fear of change. Like, because when you become successful, you're automatically kind of drawing a line in the sand with all the people around you at the old level. So like your old friends aren't going to be your friends anymore. And people fear the change in those relationships. Your status is going to look different to your peer group right now because you're going to go out as you become more successful and you're going to try to surround yourself with more successful people so you can up that average because you're the average of the people you hang around, right? And like that was just looking back with 2020 hindsight, like I see that's the biggest difference in the shift and where a lot of the fear and anxiety comes from. And we don't even realize it when we're in the moment because you say you fear success, but I promise you're not going to fear, making $20,000 a month when you get there. That's pretty cool, right? But like what happens is you fear, oh man, my friends don't look at me the same. My friends don't hang out with me. I can't have conversations with the same people. Or like my family or my friends are asking me for money, right? Like that, I think is where the fear from success comes from because we all have been on the other end of that and we kind of know it. But the dream itself is not scary, right? Like we all dream about a better life for us and our kids, a better future for our family. It's just the change, man. It's just like how many things are so different in your life once you get to the other side. And we intuitively know that. And then what happens when you get there is if you didn't come from a wealthy family, if you don't have that expectation of next level success built into you. Like you have to learn it on the fly, and it can create a lot of tension, and it becomes very hard to make decisions.
I think that's really interesting. That point that you made there around, particularly around leaving people behind, that's so interesting because, you know, for a lot of people, we want our comfort blanket to stay the same. You know, we want our friends and family to feel the same about us. We don't want them to feel like we've changed as people purely because we're living a different lifestyle or we're earning more money. And I think that can be quite hard to do. So I guess, you know, one of my questions for you guys is what really sparked not the change itself, but in terms of looking at why you wanted to create this life, what made the draw for the life that you guys have now worth more than the inevitable kind of obstacles and challenges that you were going to face to get there?
Sure. We've had two shifts in our thinking. Okay. So the first shift came when we were teachers. Right now, before that, I worked in college football and Jocelyn was in corporate. She sold commercial dishwashers.
And it is absolutely as exciting as it sounds.
I mean, if you go to a restaurant, that's how they're washing your plates, y'all. Jocelyn put them in the back room. Okay?
That's amazing.
So,
I feel like Jocelyn and I should have some kind of chat about
yes,
sales
need to have
and the boring things that we've sold.
You need to have a trade show discussion of how to sell dishwashers to, you know, old white guys in ties. That's what you need to do, right? But we went into school teacher as educators because one, Jocelyn and I are just natural teachers. That's what we're kind of, we're gifted in that regard. Okay. So we're both teachers. And, you know, and of course we went into it thinking, wow, this would give us good balanced life. If we could get in the same school district, we'd have the same schedule.
We have summers off.
We have summers off. That's a lie. You don't really get summers off when you're a teacher. I just want to tell everybody that. They tell you that to get you to go through the degree program, but whatever. So like, you know, but anyway, we'd at least be working at the same time. When your kids had, you know, spring break, you'd be on spring break with your kids. So we thought it was all time-based that we did that. But we realized when we had those 9-to-5 jobs that we really had traded control over our life for a little bit of security and a steady paycheck for health insurance. One day, my son, you know, just like a lot of people who, you know, have full-time jobs, we had to use daycare. Our kids were in daycare, and we actually found out that one of our children was being mistreated in the daycare center. They were punishing kids in really bad ways. Like we found out later that our son was being locked in a dark bathroom for hours at a time at 3 years old for potty training accidents. That's
crazy.
Yes. And, you know, and the crazy part about it was, you know, when we found out, you know, I was a good employee. I had to be at work. I kind of put all the pieces together one morning, like it all snapped together. And Isaac was just coming into his voice to be able to even speak words at 3 years old to tell us what was going on. And I was stuck one morning and I had to actually remove Isaac from a facility and take him to our daughter's facility. She was a baby. She was 18 months old. But they only kept kids up to like 2 years old at this place. So they told me, look, we'll keep him here for about an hour or two, but you've got to go to work and tell them and come back. Right. Yeah. And when I got there, I told my boss what had happened. And she basically said, I don't have time to help you. You can deal with your personal problems after work. I know your son needs you, but your job needs you too. And it was at that moment that I really realized that we were basically trading our life away like slaves because these people thought they were more important than my kid. So that was what sparked us to go on this journey to rid ourselves of employment and become self-employed and work at home because we wanted to be there for our family whenever anybody else was. So it was really easy to make that jump of I'm going to leave the 9-to-5 life and go to this because we were so driven to be available for our family. The harder jump was when we got successful, when other people started asking us questions like, hey, you guys work at home and have an online business. I'd like to do that too. I'd like to make all this money. You're buying new cars. You're buying a new house. Like, how do I do that? And then that's when we had to start really looking at our business and saying, okay, what's the next level? How do we go here? How do we surround ourselves with the 4 or 5 people that'll bring our average up? And that's going to require us to spend less time with our old peer groups and do different things. That's where the challenge really came in. Like, how do we do this? How do we make this happen? And like starting to say, well, is this even worth it? And it was definitely worth it. I'd say 90% of our circles have changed, you know, in the last 5 years. You know, nothing wrong with the people we were with before, but we just had to surround ourselves by going to live events, by joining masterminds, by getting coaching, by doing all these things to get ourselves around the people that would help us take our business and life to the next level and let us impact thousands of other people too. Because it's not That's really when you have to decide to change is, I'm going by status quo, I'm making it. Well, do you want to make it or do you want to change the world? And like, if you want to change the world, that's going to require some massive changes in your own life.
I think it's also really interesting to hear like you talk about that, because I know for me, I had to have some really hard conversations with some of my friends and some of my family about what my business was doing and who I was becoming. And some of them were just incredibly supportive and were like, yeah, go get this, like, good for you. We really want you to succeed. What can we do to help? And some people, you had to have quite an upfront conversation about, hey, look, I'm not sure that we can make this relationship, friendship, whatever, work in its current format. So do we want to save it, or is this something that's come to a natural end? Like, how did you guys handle that? Did you have open conversations with people? Were there relationships you had to end openly, or was it something you felt, okay, this was a natural close and people sort of drifted away from what you were doing?
I think it's more organic, don't you think? I mean,
Yeah, I'm a conflict avoider, so I'm going to avoid conflict in most situations. So we've had a few situations where we've had people that we've been friends with, and I guess we sort of just like drifted apart. It's not really like we didn't really have a conversation about ending it or anything like that. I think that's the way that it's happened in most situations for me.
yeah, it's a really weird scenario because, we come from an area in the United States where, like the median income in counties surrounding us is like $18,000 for a family. Right.
Wow.
And like, even people that are doing good are making 40 or 50, like, right. Like really good
Per year.
per year. So
yeah.
like,
And like also everyone knows everyone.
yes.
And that makes it a little bit tricky as well.
It was hard to go to church for a few weeks after we quit our job because like some people were coming up to us and going, are you guys okay? Do we need to pray for you? Like they thought we were like, they thought we had like a drug problem and it cost us our jobs and stuff or whatever. And like, then other people were like, how can I do this? Let's have coffee, let's meet, whatever. And, like we led a Sunday school group when we were quitting our jobs. And the day we told them, like, we said, hey guys, Jocelyn and I have made the decision. We're both walking in and quitting our jobs next week. And, and our online business is going great. But like, it wasn't like cool. It was like everyone's mouths open and it was dead silent for about 30, 40
like
seconds.
No one knew what to say.
And no one knew what to say because like, that's just so different. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like in one area of our life, it was incomprehensible for people to understand it. They just didn't even know. But then in the other part, you have the jealousy aspect. Like people are mad. We call them it must be nice people, right? Like the people, you'll say like, hey, we're quitting our job. Oh, must be nice. Well, yeah, it is nice because we worked our butts off and made it happen, And that's kind of like, we've had all these varying degrees of relationship. And then some people were like, I support you. I'm so proud of you. That is awesome. But one analogy I always go back to is, you have to be really careful when you start climbing the ladder because 90% of people won't accept it, right? They just won't because they're not willing to do it. And that causes conflict in their life where they're like, man, I'm not willing to do it. It's making me feel bad. So I either have to be a destructive force in that person's life or eliminate the relationship to make me feel better. And there's this analogy of lobsters. Like if you put 3 lobsters in a pot, they can all 3 climb out. But the problem is every time one gets to the top, another lobster will pull them back in to get up to the edge. And they just keep doing that over and over. So you kind of got to kick the lobsters off of you while you're climbing the ladder of success, or they're going to pull you back down. And that was really hard for us because, you get so comfortable in your relationships, but there's a next level, for your kids, for your family, for the people you're impacting, and you have to go on that journey, but it requires you to leave everybody else behind. So there's no one size fits all on how to deal with that. It's just relationship by relationship and a judgment call on, what you value.
I'm also now picturing like a film scene with you guys and like little backpacks and your children in hand walking down some road with a really good soundtrack behind you and just all these lobsters
chasing us down, pulling us back.
Exactly, all these lobsters like, no, come back. I really love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. I think one of the things that I'm really interested to geek out with you guys on is this idea of coming from teaching as a background, because you mentioned earlier you're both natural teachers and you like explaining things to people. Do you think that that's been one of the things behind your success, because you have this natural gift to be able to share information in a way that people can understand it?
I would say yes, for sure, because when we started out, we actually didn't start out doing a business related business. So we started out doing, I made a website that sold lesson plans to librarians because at the time I was a librarian, and Shane had a website that sold football coaching packages to football coaches. And I think just using those skills and kind of learning what to do, like, we were making things, we were making products, we were selling them, and we used our skills as teachers and as a coach to start those businesses. And I think that definitely translated to what we ended up doing later on, which is helping other people start, build, and grow their own business.
And like everything you do online, whether it's coaching, consulting, sales, we do digital products. One of our big things is creating membership sites so you can build like stable recurring revenue that you can count on every single month. But those are built in a way and they're structured in a way like you got to lay things out. You got to tell people what's going on. You got to show them where to go, just like you would on a sales call, just like you would if you were in a department store and then someone said, hey, where's the ovens? All right, let's go over here. Let's look at the ovens, right? Like it doesn't matter. Just being able to lay stuff out that way is always going to be like really like super helpful. And then when we started Flip Lifestyle, we had a friend come up to us after we quit and said, hey, I want to quit my job too. I would love to stay home and homeschool my kids. But on our current salaries, I just don't know if I could do that. So she asked Jocelyn, hey, can you show me how to make money online? And Jocelyn said, sure. So she laid it out. She helped her get a product created. She helped her put it online. And lo and behold, she made enough money to quit her job and stay home and homeschool her kids. And that's kind of what drew us into Flip Lifestyle, because her husband came up to me after church one day and said, with kind of a tear in his eye, like, man, that changed our life. We were able to go on a vacation to Florida last year. I'm investing some of that money into my PhD. I've always had a dream to be a college professor. And man, I'm just so glad that you guys showed my wife how to do this stuff. And on the way home that day, I looked over at Jocelyn. I said, if we can show one family how to do this and change their future, like we can't hide this. We got to go out and tell everybody that. So that's kind of how we got pulled into the, what do you call it? The guru space, the online business teachers, and everyone's like, oh, you teach business owners how to start businesses. How, convenient. And I'm like, yeah, but we still have businesses. We have a real estate company. We sell digital products in the education space still. Like we do all these other things and we help hundreds of other. We were the reluctant gurus getting pulled into Flip Lifestyle. So, but I do think that being able to speak and teach is always beneficial, but it's not like just our style or anything, because like we've got other members. I think of this one member, I'm not going to say his name out loud because I don't know if I have permission to say it, but like he is an engineer, right? And like he has this really, really super dry way to teach physics to people. And that's what he does online. But
Wow.
like you would look at it and like he's got all these homeschool people. So basically what his problem he solves is homeschoolers get to a certain point and parents don't know how, like most parents can't teach physics.
I definitely can't teach.
I can't teach physics.
No, I just don't even want to know about physics if I'm
Exactly. I don't even care. Like, look, up is down, left is right. Let's roll, right? I'm good. And like, but like he what his product does is basically helps homeschoolers get to the point where they don't have to send their kids back to school if they don't want to, because he has physics things for homeschool, right? But the way he teaches physics, like you wouldn't ever think anything of it, but he solves the problem in such a perfect, dry way that it's exactly what they need. So I would never call him like the greatest speaker or teacher, but it's because he's putting it out there in an organized way and he's letting people do it and they're joining this monthly membership that he can create, stable, sustainable income for him and his family. So it's not like you have to be some epic teacher to teach. You just have to know more than the person you're teaching, basically.
No, and I love that point you made there, with the chap who teaches physics. I mean, people often say, well, I don't know if anyone's going to buy what I have to offer because it's so niche or there are already tons of people out there doing it. But if someone can make money from selling physics, which is arguably, in my opinion, one of the most boring topics around,
yes.
No offense to that guy. Like, I think absolutely amazing. Kudos to him. But if you can make money doing that, you really can make money doing anything as long as you're prepared to master it at some level, right?
This is my favorite part of every conversation we have. Okay. Because like our business is like Flip Lifestyle is evolved in this weird way where we have this huge community of weird niches. Because we almost say like, if you're a life coach and you're just like out there selling essential oils, we probably don't want you. You know what I'm saying? But if you're a normal person with a real niche, you know what I'm saying? I'm not against essential oils. I like a little lavender, before my massage. I'm just saying. Right, Jocelyn? We go down to the spa. Jocelyn makes me go to the spa with her.
Right.
So
that does not sound very manly.
I don't care.
I'm just going to throw it out there. Like, having seen you guys on video before we started recording, I don't know that I can imagine Shane in the spa. Like,
oh, I go to the spa. I love the spa.
Really does.
I really do. I got my robe and my flip flops, and we're walking around. It's amazing. Okay. Now, but if you look at anything in the world, like there's 4 billion people connected to the internet, 7 billion are alive, and more are getting connected every day, right?
mm-hmm.
And in the next few years, there's probably going to be 5 billion, 6 billion people connected to the internet. And like, if you want to make $250,000 a year, like that's only like $20-something thousand a month. Like if you had 210 people paying you $99 a month in a membership, that's about $250,000 a year. So a guy like, the physics chap, like you called him, the chap guy, like the physics guy, right? Like he only needs 210 families on the planet Earth to join his membership to make a fine living, right? So it's not about the niche. It's not about the size. It's about solving a problem and then going and finding the people with the problem.
And you don't have to be right for everyone.
No.
If 210 people, for instance, if they like you and they like your style, that's all you need. Like everyone doesn't love us because we're country. We have a crazy accent and, we're a husband and wife team. There are probably people who say, you know what, they're not for me. But then there are other people that think that is amazing. And I would listen to them talk all day.
We're posting pictures of our town and country minivans next to those guys that are posting their Lamborghinis. Maybe you want the Lambo, right? I need the sliding doors so I can get my kid in the car. You know what I mean? Like, so it doesn't really, and we've seen some of the weirdest niches. The favorite business that's ever started in our community. This guy came in one day and posted and he said, we're like, all right, what do you do? And he goes, well, bonsai trees. I'm like, oh yeah, bonsai trees. That's cool. He's like, you clip them and you keep them alive. He goes, yeah. He goes, I do bonsai tree stuff, but for Venus flytraps.
Whoa.
Yeah. We're like, wait, what? And he goes, yeah, Venus flytraps. And we're like, you mean like the things that eat bugs? And he's like, yeah, Venus flytraps. He goes, but those things are really hard to keep alive, apparently, compared to other plants. So, you clip them, you got to prune them, you got to take care of them. And that dude started a membership and he launched and he made like $20,000. So apparently, yeah, because you only need like, what if there's 500 Venus flytrap enthusiasts
on the planet
Earth that
connected to the internet.
Like there's probably 500 people with those in their house. And he was able to build like a community around that. And we've seen people sell like PDFs telling people how to keep goldfish alive. Like another great one is this girl named Rena. I'm allowed to say her name. She's in LA. She does flamenco dancing. She's a flamenco dance instructor. Like I guess it's Spanish, isn't it? Is that
I think
Spanish?
so, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. They put their hands over their head and they clap their fingers and all that good stuff. Like, but anyway, she's a pro at this, and she had this studio in LA, and she could not scale. She couldn't expand because, when you're tied to a geographic region. But once you go online, you can unite the flamenco dancers, right? So she basically she got like 110 members when she launched her thing, paying like, $29 a month. And all of a sudden she gets this $3,000 raise a month just because she reaches out on the internet. So, it doesn't really matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter what you're selling. You're going to be able to find your people. Sometimes you'll be doing and selling the same thing that everybody else is doing, but they'll just like you better because of the way you talk, the way you look, the way you whatever. And it doesn't matter. You just got to put yourself out there and go for it.
I really like that. So what's next for you guys? Like, what is next in the world of Shane and Jocelyn Sams' world domination plan?
The thing that we've kind of ventured into, like, the biggest thing that we see that helps people succeed is when they do surround themselves with great people, like other people, and not just, the people who are doing well or doing better. It's the people trying to do better and do well, right? Like just getting around like-minded people. So that's our big mission right now, is just to, help as many families as possible become and stay self-employed, connect as many of those families together to help them realize that they're not alone. And really live events is where we're going probably next. Like we do a big live event every September called Flip Your Life Live. And
we hosted over 100 entrepreneurs in Nashville, Tennessee last September.
Like from 5 countries and like 30 something US states. So
and we're doing that again this September of 2019.
So trying to connect people. That's like really what our mission is right now, because the people that get involved like go to the next level, right? And every time we ever went to live events where we met really cool people, we went to the next level in our life. And that's really our goal, is just to give as many people that opportunity, to find freedom as we had, and our kids, like give them the opportunities that we never had. Our kids have been to 4 countries and they're only 10 and 8. And like, I didn't get on an airplane until I was 20. So just doing stuff like that and helping other people, find their way. That's kind of our mission. That's our next level.
That's amazing. Thank you guys so much for coming on today. Seriously, this has been awesome. And I know that there are a ton of mums, dads, parents in my audience who are going to be like, right, okay, who are these guys? Where can I find them? So where is the best place for them to join your world?
The best place is, of course, on our podcast, the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. You can find that on iTunes or over at flippedlifestyle.com. And for anyone who listens to your podcast, we will put some resources together over at flippedlifestyle.com/SLS to help them figure out how to, create sustainable income, go to the next level financially, and kind of give them a hint about what we do.
I love that. Thank you. So there you go, guys. If you have listened today and if you're thinking, actually, I need some good Southern sense from people who've been there and done it and walked the talk, make sure you head over and listen to Shane and Jocelyn's amazing podcast, Flipped Lifestyle, and head over to that special link as well. We're putting it in the show notes for you, so you'll be able to go in there and access that. But guys, thank you so much for today. I really, really appreciate it. It's been an awesome conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Poddies, I will see you in the next episode. Make sure that you share your key takeaways with me, with Jane, with Jocelyn over on social, because that is apparently the place to be. And I'll see you on Monday.